Anyway, as I was saying before, I was rudely cut off by screencast. Foster's using grammatical patterns that reflect her meaning. Okay, so she is showing us the clash between modern and new in those brackets and in those sentence structures. So she's talking here about linking the main ancient sites and the three metro stations, which are obviously symptoms of modernity. And she literally links those together in her grammar by putting them in this sentence format where she has the brackets of ancient and the brackets of more modern. Similarly, in this coffee example, it's exactly the same, but just a reverse order where she does the modern example first of a frappe, in case you were unaware of what one of those is. It's quite annoying, isn't it, how little knowledge she presumes the reader has. I mean, I'm sorry to tell you, but a frappe is not a Greek thing. We do have them here. And then, of course, you contrast that with this parentheses, which is the Greek coffees, where she's code switched and translated that for us stupid readers who've never been to Greece and therefore couldn't understand what Greek coffee might be called. Um, so what I'm saying is that basically she is combining the ancient and modern, and she's doing it through her repeated grammatical patterns of a sentence that links the ancient and modern through these kind of parentheses. She kind of pairs them off. And I would be linking this idea of sentence structure and this clash between ancient and modern on a sentence level to that clash we have in semantic fields of modernity versus history. So I went through that history semantic field with you, and there's also one of modernity. So she talks about the ultra modern bit quite near the end, and she talks about kind of renovations and this idea of these, recent drug addicts. So yeah, what I'm, I suppose, getting at is it's amazing to find a pattern. So a semantic field, class, you sound dead clever, you'll get loads of marks. But if you can link one pattern to another pattern, like a repeated sentence structure, you are going to sound, degree level, PhD level smart. So we're looking for as many links as possible because it makes the most convincing evidence, doesn't it? If you were going to stand up in court and argue your case, you would want as much evidence as possible to make that case convincing. So the more links you can find between individual words and then phrases and then how that's put together in a sentence structure, the more kind of watertight your case becomes. So with that in mind, here's my model paragraph that I want you to colour code. I want you to do AO1 in purple, so I literally just want you to look at the slide in the PowerPoint that you've been sent, and I want you to highlight and put into purple font anything that is to do with language analysis, so wherever I'm using terminology and wherever I'm arguing something. Now you'll find in this that I've tried really hard to stick to a clear argument. So this whole paragraph, I'm saying that Foster is trying to sound like an expert so that we trust her. Okay, so everything in this paragraph should be about her sounding like an expert. I've used two main patterns. Okay, so I've linked one pattern to another, like I'm trying to challenge you guys to do. So I've talked about the pattern of parentheses, where she's basically talking to the kind of layman in the parentheses and then using her own kind of expert terminology, her kind of Greek knowledge outside the parentheses. And then I've linked that to the fact that she casts herself as a kind of tour guide through those subheadings. Okay, so I've found two patterns. I've linked those two patterns together. I've really tried to challenge myself. So with that in mind, you'll also need to colour code AO3 and think about how contextual factors and language features are constructing meaning. Okay, so what is she trying to say? She's trying to say that she's an expert. Why is she saying that? Because we need to be able to kind of trust her opinion as a travel writer. She's trying to encourage us to go to Greece. She's trying to say, take my word for it, you're going to enjoy it. So if you pause this video now, have a look at this slide on your PowerPoint and get that colour coded for me, please. And now it's over to you. So these are the 4 big questions that you've been considering in today's lesson. The thing that I really want you to challenge yourself to do is find a pattern, whether that's a semantic field, whether it's a phonological pattern, whether it is a sentence structure that you found repeated. I want you to talk about a pattern. If you are thinking of being an A-star candidate or maybe doing a degree in something relatively linked to language and linguistics, can you challenge yourself to make links between those patterns? Okay, so can you link semantic fields of particular words, particular meanings to the way they are laid out in a phrase or a clause or a sentence? That's what I really want to say at the very, very top end. If you are listening to me prattle on and thinking, my God, I don't know what am I going to say about this Athens article that Dr. Williams is going on about, this is your cheat sheet, okay, the very last slide of the PowerPoint. And these are 3 topic sentences you could use to construct your argument. And I've kind of color coded them there from pretty easy to actually pretty solid. Okay, so the easiest point you could make is she's representing Athens and she's presenting it as an exclusive, impressive place to encourage tourists to travel there. Yeah, so you would be talking about the semantic field of luxury, the semantic field of history, and anything that makes it sound impressive. That's a pretty easy one to argue. Your kind of mid-level point is something that casts her as a tour guide for the novice reader. And the reason that's a more complicated point is because it's telling us kind of what she intends to do with her implied writer and the implied reader. So there's kind of two foci there. Okay, so whereas this is just about how Athens represented, here I'm saying how does she represent herself and how does she position the reader as well. So there's two kind of elements of representation going on in this second point. The third point you could make, which is pretty solid, I think, because it looks at links between patterns, is that she's representing Athens as a clash of cultures. So she's looking at the clash between locals and tourists, between old and new, between luxury and the kind of economically deprived areas as well, and that kind of reference to the economic crash, and how she replicates that clash phonologically and grammatically. So I'll be looking at how she uses parentheses to put those two things side by side, and I would also be thinking about how she uses alliteration to make it seem kind of like a repetitive, kind of clashy place. I think that's the hardest one. And if you are looking for top marks, I'd like to see you to kind of challenge yourself to write a paragraph on that. That said, I bet you guys have much better ideas than me. I bet you've got much more interesting things to say that haven't occurred to me yet. And I would love to have as many varied essays as possible. So please don't look at this cheat sheet and think, well, there's my 3 paragraphs, off I go. Because I don't want to just read and mark identical essays. I want to hear what you have to say as a reader. You are towards the end of year 12 now, you're a language expert. You've got something to say and you bring something new to this text in a way that I'll bring something different. So I want to hear what your personal response is and what your ideas are. What evidence are you going to use? So best of luck. Spend your half an hour on the essay and send it in to your teacher.